Hello everyone, my name is JD,
And this is Logan.
and this is the WireTap presented to you by the Conservative Wire. And we had some discussions, and we have decided to take a little bit of a different direction with what we've been doing. We've done podcasts for our last 3 videos here on YouTube and with SoundCloud, and there's going to be some different things going on with the Conservative Wire. We're trying to make some transitions, and we're trying to figure out the best way to do all this kind of stuff. YouTube isn't really a question. It's just making the content more digestible, making it better for you and more enjoyable for you, the viewer. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be kind of shelving the podcast format for right now. And we're going to be moving toward shorter installments. We're going to be moving toward maybe 20 to 25 minute videos about only a couple of topics, kind of keeping it condensed, putting more focus on those topics, and possibly even uploading more than just once a week. We were doing once a week podcasts. So this might transition into us uploading maybe 2 times a week. And as for the audio side of it, we're still kind of in a bit of limbo as to what we're going to be doing with the audio side of it. And we'll keep you updated on that as details come forth. But last week we were off. We were on vacation. So we decided to just, take a step back from all the social media. And obviously we did a podcast. So we've come back, and everything is still the way that it was whenever we left. Everyone was racist, and the world was still burning down because Trump is president, as you'd believe if you watch the mainstream media. And I don't want to hit this too hard because this is something that I know has already been discussed quite at length, but I do want to hit it a little bit, specifically from this piece from the New York Times about Erica Thomas. And she is the black representative from the Georgia House of Representatives, District 39. And she claimed while she was at a store in a supermarket on Friday. This happened on Friday, and here we are on Monday. And there's a lot that's already transpired with this story. But she said that a white man was angry at how many items she had in the express lane and told her to go back where you came from. An obvious reference, an obvious correlation to the comments of President Trump and the infamous squad, the name that the media has dubbed the congresswomen from Ocasio-Cortez and Omar, Tlaib, and Presley, isn't it?
Who knows?
I can't remember. But she posted a video to her Facebook account kind of recounting all this. And she said that the man cursed at her and accused her of being lazy. And, this is one of her quotes from the video that she posted on Facebook. She said, people are getting really out of control with this white privilege. People need to see the hate that's going on in this country. The hate is real. And how ironic it is that she says that the hate is real whenever, spoiler alert, it's not real. She admitted that this whole thing was fake. She admitted that it was all made up. And the guy who she accused of this is not only not white, he's Cuban, but he's a lifelong Democrat. And they have a quote here in this New York Times story from the man, Mr. Sparks, Eric Sparks, I believe is his name, yes. And he said, I'm a Democrat and will vote Democrat for the rest of my life, so call me whatever you want to believe. For her political purposes, make it black, white, brown, whatever, it's untrue. So the man is a Democrat. He's a lifelong Democrat. He says he'll vote Democrat for the rest of his life. But she makes this narrative out of what he says because she was in the express lane, which is for 10 items or less typically. And she had some 15, 20 items or something like that. Like, she had like 20, 25 items in the express lane. He told her, like, go back to the other lane. Go back to the other lane. This is the express lane for 10 items or less, And for whatever reason, she decides to make a narrative out of this. Because she's also like 9 months pregnant, I believe, right now, whenever all this is happening. And she said she also went on a local television station and recounted the events and the goings-on of this. And she said people can't just go out in public areas and berate pregnant women. Whether it was because I'm pregnant, whether it's because I'm black. Do you honestly think that people just go out and randomly, yell and and scream obscenities and make derogatory comments about pregnant women for no reason whatsoever?
I'll admit, I've always held a little bit of a prejudice against pregnant people.
Yeah, just I honestly don't know at this point how stupid they think that the American people are, but they are, because people eat this stuff up and they regurgitate it and make these talking points whenever you engage with them and about these kind of issues. But do you honestly, what would possess a person just because they're pregnant and bearing a child to abuse them verbally? Like, what? What is the motivation? Like, what is the purpose?
My question is, did the Cuban guy vote for this woman?
I don't know. That detail...
If they're shopping in the same area...
That detail has not come out because it says Publix is the name of the store.
Maybe.
So
I just wonder if they're in the same district.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting if he was one of her voters. I don't know what the detail is on that. That hasn't really come out. But it's either because she's pregnant. The war on women, I guess, is what she's going for there, because she's at the peak of femininity. Yeah. She's at the peak of her, feminine identity right there as she's pregnant. Or it's because she's black and, it's because America's racist. Meanwhile, the guy is actually Cuban, but she frames it as a white person.
She could have sold the story so much better. A, if she would have found a white guy, and B, if maybe that guy was wearing a MAGA hat, she should have searched for a MAGA hat. Then this story would have been sold.
I just don't... I just honestly want to know what possesses a person to just so blatantly lie about something like this. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, what is wrong in your head to make you do this?
And that she didn't even maintain the lie.
Yeah, I mean, it completely fell apart pretty soon. Here afterward, it completely fell apart. But I just want to know what possesses a person. What possesses Jussie Smollett to fabricate such an intricate lie?
Was it really that intricate?
I mean, there was a lot that went on there. Now, was it well staged? No, I'm not complimenting the quality of it or anything, but I'm just saying it's a very intricate lie. Oh, these guys beat me up in the street and they hung a noose around my neck and made me drink bleach and like all this kind of stuff.
And then I wore the noose for the next hour until the police
I
arrived.
wore it for the next couple of hours until the police arrived so they would see me in it. Like, what possesses people to make such intricate lies, to do these things that they know will start more racial division? And notice who does this kind of stuff is the left. The left does this. And they've done this multiple times, and the media has done this in all of these, executions of black people by the hands of police officers. Because they had the helping hand in this in Ferguson, in Baltimore, and, wherever else, The media has had the helping hand in this, also creating this narrative and creating this delusion. Because that's really what it is. It's delusion. It's mass hysteria. And I don't know why. I know why. I can theorize as to why. They want to bring, I guess, attention to this issue, and they want this controversy to be, stirred up, so that way they have something with which to catapult off of for their policies, or their future campaigns, their fundraising, their support. If they can get behind a hot button issue and a hot button cause, it can keep them in office. It can keep their momentum going politically.
Well,
that's the basic answer.
And it's not even that the media. I guess they're trying to sell a story here, but you don't have to create one. America, we do have hate crimes that do happen.
Yeah.
They do happen across the world still.
But
you don't have to make them up. They'll come up eventually.
They will come up eventually, but they do not come up in nearly the theatrical way that they want it to be. Nor as frequently. As frequently as they want. They really want to make this believable. They would use Jews. We've talked before about how Jews are the most are the group with the most hate crimes committed against them.
It's true.
The Jews are far and away, and there was a story, I can't remember exactly from where, but it was in the state of New York alone, with the comparisons between Jews and Muslims and their number of hate crimes, and that I think it claimed that Muslims, the number of hate crimes against Muslims had increased a little bit, but the number against Jews, anti-Semitic hate crimes, was off the freaking charts in comparison to Muslims, and had risen significantly from what it was before. And it's really not a surprise whenever you have people like Ilhan Omar who make the comments that they do about Israel and about Jews. And it's amazing that out of one side of their mouth, these people can sit all day and talk about white nationalism and Nazis and how Trump is a Nazi and a racist. And we'll, get into this here in a moment with Pelosi and, what she says. But you have all these things, and they literally have people in their party who are anti-Semitic. Let's just call it for what it is. It's anti-Semitic. They have said many, many derogatory things about Jews and Israel, not just criticizing them on policy or anything like that, but the Israeli people as a whole and as their person.
And Omar, she claims that she can hear all racism. She can read between the lines of every single statement somebody says and pick up the racist implications. She can hear the dog whistles.
Yeah.
But she can't hear anything
anti-Semitic. That's what all the left claims, is that they're the only ones who have the ears that are trained to hear the dog whistles. That hear, whenever Donald Trump is blowing the dog whistle for all of the white nationalists across America. But, like I said, at the same time, it's amazing how out of their same mouths that they can talk all day about these things, which they're so very against. But at the same time, they're literally echoing points, anti-Semitic points, some of those people in their party. Not all. Let's be fair here. Not all, and it's not widespread, and I don't believe it's a platform that the Democrats have, or part of their platform, but it is some members. And some of those members are the same ones who talk all day. Ilhan Omar just as a prime example because of immediacy, because of how current she is at the moment. But talking about how racist Trump is while saying these things, while having these things on record that she has said. How do you have those things come out of your mouth and you not burst into flames by the fire of God? Like, it's just idiotic. But notice, as I alluded to earlier, how all of these kind of incidents, these false attacks, these false racial incidents, all are coming from the left. You're not seeing white nationalists. You're not seeing those kind of racist skinhead groups staging attacks by black people against them, against white people. It's not near, and if it is, it's not getting nearly the media attention, or they're not begging for it nearly as much. And it's not nearly as convoluted and intricate and as high profile as all of these as like Jussie Smollett, a celebrity, a B-list celebrity at best, but a celebrity nonetheless. A state representative in the state of Georgia, a legislative member in the state of Georgia, pulling this same stuff now. But you're not seeing white nationalists pull this kind of crap. It's from the left. The left is what is doing this.
Well, to be fair, I think there's more members on the left than there are in skinhead and neo-Nazi groups.
Yeah. But this is from the Federalist, and this is just some quick kind of points from an article here from them about in reference to just America's so racist, it's so terrible. It has some numbers here. In 1958, a mere 4% of Americans approved of interracial marriage. By 2013, that number had grown to 87%. And in 2012, interracial marriages hit an all-time high. And we've discussed this next number that they talk about before, that KKK membership has shrunk drastically from millions a century ago to fewer than 5,000 today. The Black Panthers are virtually extinct. And President Obama's percentage of the white vote was almost perfectly in line with that received by other recent Democrats, all of whom were white. And you also had in 2013 a report come out, which the Washington Post extensively reported on, and they had maps and graphics and everything, that America is one of the least racist nations in the world.
Gasp.
Outside of, along with, basically statistically negligible with other nations like the UK, Canada, all that kind of stuff. But the UK, or the US is right there with them, with all those nations, as the least racist nations in the world. And, of course, racism is not a objective means of measure. It's really hard to try to make empirical data for racism. So what they had is they had surveys of, if you, how many of you would be opposed to having neighbors of a different race, like that kind of thing. Living amongst and having a community with people of different races and a racially diverse community. And that's kind of how they gauge that stuff. And so, as I said, United States, UK, Canada, those were all the least racist. Ironically enough, France in Europe was a mixed bag. And we're always told how we need to be more like Europe. We need to be more like France in particular. You remember the Paris Accords with climate change and everything, and how we need to be more like France. And French socialism, we need to be more like them. Well, guess what? According to this report, Europe as a whole is a pretty mixed bag on this. There's some that are pretty racially tolerant, and there's some that are not so racially tolerant. France is actually one of the least racially tolerant nations in Europe. With, I believe it's 23% that said that they did not want neighbors of a different race from them.
Ouch.
And whenever you start going down the line, nations that are the least racially tolerant, Jordan was definitely one of them. That was pretty big right there near Israel, Jordan. Also, just India, like Asia as a whole, was a pretty intolerant continent, or was a lesser racially tolerant continent than most of the rest of the world, to be totally honest. But you have all of these progresses that you've made. You have all these things that have happened that have advanced from all these years ago. And you've had this talk about reparations and how, well, the black community is still held back from slavery and all these things. Honestly, at this point, let's be totally honest. I don't know how much more you can do for the African American community than what you've already done. By the letter of the law, they are totally equal in the letter of the law as any other person of any other race. So that's why the left has to talk about white privilege and how they have to talk about systemic racism, because that's the only way that their claims can have any sort of credibility in America, is they have to say, well, it's just fundamentally this way.
You can't change it.
Yeah, in fact, it's so fundamental that you don't even realize that it's racist. You don't even realize it's born into you, and you're so blind to it because it's such a part of America. America is synonymous with racism. That's how they have to make this point. So I want to play the video from Nancy Pelosi. This was from a couple days ago. This is from NBC News. Of her on the floor of the House, openly calling Donald Trump a racist. So we'll bring that to you right now. All right, so this is Nancy Pelosi, again from NBC News, and this is what she had to say a couple days ago. You probably already seen it, but I just want us to talk about it a little bit here and what she said on the floor of the House.
Yet the president's comments about our colleagues this weekend show that he does not share those American values. These comments from the White House are disgraceful and disgusting, and the comments are racist.
Are they now? In context, and I know that facts don't really matter. I know that truth doesn't really matter. None of these comments even have any sort of nuance to race about them in any which way, shape, or form. It's about their policies. Now, I will say, sometimes I'm not always the biggest fan of what Trump tweets. Sometimes I like what he tweets, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I think it's kind of dumb. This is a time to where I think that this was really stupid for him to tweet this. It was a really poor planned time to make this statement and to draw the line of fire back to him, because at this time, Ocasio-Cortez and Pelosi were ready to have a death cage match at this point, with, and they were really going at it with her and the squad and the establishment, which really could have been predicted all the way back whenever Ocasio-Cortez was a candidate, that this is what she was going to do, and that's exactly what she's doing now with Nancy Pelosi. But this was really poor planning on Trump's part to draw that line of fire back to him, because they again found a common enemy after these comments, and the mainstream media is still talking about these tweets. This happened over 6 days ago, and they're still talking about it. They still just can't get over it. They're just having convulsions still about these comments. But none of these comments had anything to do with race. They were about policy. They were about their ideas. But all that aside, let's continue.
How shameful to hear him continue to defend those offensive words that we have all heard him repeat, not only about our members, but about countless others. Our caucus will continue to forcefully respond to those attacks on our members, which reflect a fundamental disrespect for the beautiful diversity of America. There is no place, anywhere, for the president's words, which are not only divisive, but dangerous, and have legitimized and increased fear and hatred of new Americans and people of color. It's so sad, because you would think that there would be a given that we would universally in this body just say, of course, of course. And there's no excuse for any response to those words but a swift and strong, unified condemnation.
There's nothing at all that can happen besides swift and unified condemnation, because we all, of course, can see how racist this is. We can all look through the glasses. We can all see how clearly it is that this is racist and that Trump is racist.
The Democrats couldn't pass a resolution condemning Ilhan Omar's anti-Semitic statements back in, April or May?
Yeah.
They couldn't pass a resolution then.
They couldn't pass a resolution then because she's on their side, which is ironic considering how she's part of the squad. Which I hate that name. I hate that name with a burning passion.
What a lame name to give yourself.
It's so freaking idiotic. I hate that name so badly, and I hate referring to it as the squad. I really want to find...
Not the Fantastic Four.
I really want to find another name for it besides just the squad. The Squawk Box or something. I don't know. But it's because, she's on their side, so to speak, even though that she's, at odds with Nancy Pelosi and the establishment. But because it's Donald Trump, because they find a common enemy, that's why. But
every single member of this institution, Democratic and Republican, should join us in condemning the president's racist tweets.
Racist tweets. Oh my God. How absolutely horrible. But that's all that they can focus on. Because they have nothing. They really have nothing.
What about the Marxist Force?
But the Democrats live in this world. They live and they thrive off of the social media world. And whatever gets them likes and retweets, that's their form of activism, is social media. And that's, what this, is perfect for. Because people, the young generation and the millennials love seeing videos of
that 30-second clip.
That 30 to 60-second clip of somebody getting wrecked, in all caps, Ocasio-Cortez wrecks Ted Cruz or something like that. They love seeing that kind of crap because, it's just an easy share. It's an easy retweet. It's an easy like. And the left thrives off of getting those sound bites. They thrive off of those one-liner and those moments that they can get so that way they can show how cool and how woke they are.
And Pelosi broke the House rules when she did that.
Yeah, it's actually against House rules to openly call a president racist or something like that. I kind of find weird that that's a rule in the first place.
I think it is specifically racist, but I think it's also to just disparage the president's character. The character of the office.
That would make sense. But yeah, I had seen that as well, and I kind of find that funny that that's an actual rule that they have in the Senate.
Now she could have went to a podium and done this.
Yeah.
But since she was on the House floor, there's ethics there.
Yeah, there's a code of ethics and a code of rules. But this is just what the left does, and they'll continue to do it. They will continue playing the race card until they fade into obscurity. they will keep playing the card. They will keep doing this that they've been doing for a while now. You disagree, you're a racist. If you don't think this way, you must be a racist. And thankfully, a lot more people are waking up to this. A lot more people are waking up to how they're being played and how they are being used as pawns by the Democrat Party for their own purposes.
And no one's safe.
No one is safe. Because after the African American is used up, that community is used up, they'll move on to something else. And they have very diverse assets all across all boards for them to use and manipulate for their own gain. So with that, we want to thank you guys for watching this edition of the WireTap. And again, as we said at the beginning, we're in a bit of limbo right now, and we're trying to make some transitions. We're trying to make some changes to our content, to our format. So as we said, we're going to put the podcast on hold, and we're going to do more stuff like this to where it's shorter, it's more digestible, trying to keep it under a half hour, probably closer to 20 minutes if we can. This one seemed to run a little longer, but we had a lot to talk about. So we want to thank you all so much for watching again. Make sure you hit all the buttons down there. Like, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at the CWire, capital TCNW at the CWire. You can look at our stuff on SoundCloud, but that might be going away. We might be putting it somewhere else, and we'll keep you posted on that. But again, for JD and Logan, this has been the WireTap.